as you can see, oh, I don't know if you can see, I sure as hell can't.
Welcome back to Copenhagen Blue. Today we're working on something new that we've never touched before. It's my neighbor's 2013 Volkswagen Beetle. We did a throttle body in this, but of course I left my GoPro at work the day that we were doing the throttle body, so I didn't get that done. And when I was doing the work on the throttle body, I noticed that they need control arms. Let me show you how bad they are. So those are pretty bad. Once you get in there, you'll actually be able to see how bad they are. The bushing on the back is actually separated from the rubber itself, and the whole thing goes up and down. So they're just destroyed. But I bought 2 new control arms, and we're going to put those on for them today. Let's get started. All right, we've got our hubcap off, or our wheel cover, whatever you want to call that, and we're going to take off our wheel lugs with a 17mm. Now that we're in here, Volkswagen does actually do a really nice job. That's an 18mm. We have an 18mm here on our ball joint, and then we have an 18mm on the front of our control arm. But as you can see, I was kind of special, and I used a ratcheting ratchet, and now it's stuck up against the bolt, because that bolt will hit your transmission pan. So what we had to do was we had to remove our battery tray, and it allowed us to get to the top of our motor mount. We're going to unbolt the motor mount, and we're going to lift the motor up so that we can get that bolt out. All right, so we ended up going with a standard 5/8 because it fit on the bolt better down here. We're going to put that on and see if we can get this mount freed up. Fingers crossed. Well, that doesn't have enough ass now, does it? All right, bigger gun. All right, what we're going to do with our 5/8 here, hopefully we have a little bit more oomph with our impact. Let's see if we can break these free. There we go. All right, we're going to get all 4 of those, and that will allow us to hopefully lift up our engine a little bit and give us the clearance we need to get that one bolt out. Well, that is uglier than I'd like it to be. You have to undo your motor mount bolts right there, and then you're going to want to put that a block of wood or something on the bell housing there. Don't put it on your pants. Jack that up. That will give you enough room to actually get to this bolt so that you can get it all the way out, and then that way we have 1 of 3 bolts out for our control arm. 2 more to go. All right, let's see if we can get this ball joint to break free. I'm going to try and just give it a couple. Just continue to take our nut out. I did put a little PB blaster on this to try and free it up. If we have to, we'll heat it up, but I'd like to not do that. I did learn a trick last time where you put a nut in between the nut up here or something to push on, but I don't like pushing on the half shaft itself or the CV axle, and that did not break free. Cover your ears. That is a stubborn freaking ball joint. Hey, there we go. That broke it free. Well, we did not have much luck because I was special and I did not leave the ball joint seated before I broke it free, and the nut is spinning the shaft. So now we're going to use our Sawzall and we're going to cut the ball joint, because it's the only way that I can get the ball joint free from the knuckle. So cover your ears. That is a very tough freaking shaft there. Attempt number 2. Let's see if we can cut this. Like ate up my bit. That is insane. There's absolutely no way that it is being that difficult. All right, well, grinding wheel wouldn't reach. Sawzall couldn't for some reason cut. So we're gonna try the induction heater here. Let's see if we can heat up the nut and maybe just get it to expand enough so we can get it free. I don't know what else to try. So we're getting the nut to expand a little bit more than the shaft itself.
It's red.
I'm trying to just still see if... Ah!
Yay!
Yay! All right.
Some heat helped, I think.
Lesson learned. Okay.
Wait, how does that make sense?
So we got that out.
Now we just put our 18mm up top to hold the nut up there. And we're going to use our 18mm impact on the bottom to get this bolt out. There we are. Should be able to pull out our controller. Ta-da! That is the worst control arm I've ever seen. The rubber is actually separated completely from the inside.
That's crazy.
Yep, okay. Now that I'm completely blind. Purely, it was my fault on the control arm here because I got the nut to break free. I then, while the nut was still on here, hit and broke the seat of the ball joint free, which screwed up everything because now the tension was tighter on the threads than it was with the ball joint, and I couldn't get that free. So note to future self, undo the nut all the way, then break the ball joint free, especially because I'm not reusing it. So surprisingly, this actually wasn't a very bad ball joint. I probably could have just unbolted the ball joint itself and gotten the other control arm, but I figured I didn't want to find out that it was bad after I was already in here. But let's get the new one installed. As you can see, we have our old rear ball joint on the control arm that separates, which it's not supposed to, compared to our nice new one that's fixed into the control arm like it's supposed to be. Now, putting this in shouldn't be too difficult, and I say that because, you know, I'll probably just bite myself in the butt doing that, but we should go in towards the back, and then should be able to work that back in there enough. There we go. We're getting closer. We're trying to line up the bolt so that it can go up into the actual rear of the control arm there into the sleeve. To line that up. There we go. Come on. We're almost there. So now we're going to use a punch. Let's see if we can. Oh, come on. This wants to be so stubborn. There we go. Woohoo! Got it lined. So we have our nut that's going to go up on top. We're going to feed our bolt through. We're going to get this bolt up here. There we go. We're going to start to thread that in. We're going to try a little dead blow hammer here to
big movements.
All right, now we're where we want to be. Lift the motor back up.
Oh.
Tell me when I'll be able to get that bolt in. You see when you can get that bolt through there.
I think I can get it in it right. A little bit more.
A little more?
Yeah. Yeah, I think I can do it right here. So close.
Well, it's only going to go in so far.
Until you got hit with the mallet.
There we go. Everybody, Austin, everybody. He's helping me out. He's got some interest in learning about cars, so he's helping me this evening. While you do that, I'm going to put on the nut here for the ball joint. I'm going to jack my side up so it tightens down.
Being on a car is like a full body workout.
It is. It's very demanding.
Yeah.
Alright, so there's mine. We're gonna tighten it down right now so that it's in its tight position and its normal driving position, essentially. You could take a wrench like this and go over like that, and now
Oh.
see, that gives you some extra.
It's like a stendo.
Yep, and then it gives you extra leverage that you need. I'm gonna put this nut back on. Use the impact here. We're gonna piss off all the neighbors.
They're gonna love it.
And I think they're gonna love it.
Yep.
Alright, now what we're going to do is we need to do reassembly. We need to put this motor mount back on so that we can put our battery box back in, because we're not going to have the same issues on the passenger side that we had on the driver's side. This side was a pain in the butt. I don't want to do this side again. But we're done with it at least. Let's get that motor mount reinstalled. Alright, now we have our motor mount bolts back down. Possibly. Only because we're working on a car right now at night. If we weren't working on a car at night, we'd be kind of normal.
Good way.
Yeah. So that goes there. So when you have something that comes out and it doesn't come out easily, like this one bolt didn't for us, what we're going to do is we're going to coat it with a little bit of an anti-seize. So this is aluminum anti-seize. So see, it's like aluminum paste. Oh. And we put a little bit of that on, and what it'll do is as it goes in, it creates a barrier between the threads, and then that way they won't get stuck like they did before. So that can go into that. That goes into that. Power steering drops in with these grommets right here into this kind of slot. So we have that. We're going to put down these 10 millimeters here that attach and just push down onto the bracket here. Our transmission control module leave is what we have here. Just kind of snaps into place. And then we'll put our battery back in with our hold down bracket, and we'll be ready to tackle the other side. There you go, it's getting done. All right, so there you go. When we start to get tight, just kind of put one thumb here and we just tighten it. But it's good. It's plenty tight. So we've got everything torqued down. We've got our control arm torqued. We've got our front ball joint portion torqued. We have our rear ball joint torqued. We have our battery, which will never take a charge. We're going to put that back in, and then we should be good. That shouldn't be separated. It should be in contact. Yeah, it should definitely be intact. So, but we've got a new one on there, and we've got our nut that gave us nothing but trouble.
The devil's nut.
The devil's nut.
Yep.
We're done with the driver's side control arm. We're going to move on to the passenger side control arm, which should be significantly easier because we're not jacking up the motor. Literally, it's 18 millimeter bolts and nuts, and yeah, we should be in business. Start with our ball joint again, break that free. Well, we're going to take off this lower ball joint nut here, and remember, we want to take the nut off first before we break that apart. So 18 millimeter down on the lower nut, and we want to get the nut completely off before we hit this knuckle here with a hammer and separate the ball joint. I'm really hoping this comes all the way off before this actually breaks the ball joint free, but I have a feeling it's going to do the same thing again as last time and push up against the actual CV. Since we're up against it right now, we're gonna end up in the same problem that we had before. That sucks, but maybe not. Keep swimming, just keep swimming. We're up against that CV shaft knuckle right there, that housing right there for the CV. All we can do at this point is hit it and hope to hell that we can get it off the rest of the way. Now we're in the same predicament we were in last time. We got our bolt free, but now the shaft's just going to probably spin. Let some PB Blaster work its way down in there. See if that makes any difference, and we'll come back to it in a minute. Quickly becoming one of the most popular tools, that I use will be my induction heater. Hit the button, and it starts to heat up anything inside the coil
It's a lot nicer than using heat off of a torch where you can burn other stuff. It's gonna get smoky, so I'm gonna have to hold my breath. But the goal here is to get this hot enough I can get that nut free. As you can see, oh, I don't know if you can see, I sure as hell can't. That's cherry red. So let's see if we can, if that nut's expanded enough to where we can get it to go all the way off without twisting the shaft on the ball joint. Now, obviously, I don't want to touch that because that would be stupid, but it looks like we might have succeeded in our goal of getting that, woohoo, that nut free. Oh, that was hella easy. There we are, got that. 18 millimeter bolt right there. 18 millimeter nut right there. All right, we have one more bolt we need to pull out. This one we might need a little bit of leverage on. Yeah, we'll need some leverage. And there we go. This one will be easier because we don't have a transmission pan right up against it. We do have an engine oil pan. I'm hoping that it's enough room to be able to get the bolt all the way out. Ah, it is. All right, so we push down on our control arm here. We're gonna wiggle it out. Do a little prying. There we are. Control arm. And look how bad that is. That thing is almost as bad as the left side, but not completely separated. Still really bad. We have our nice new control arm here. The brand is Suspensia, which, I don't know, it's still probably made in China. But we can get the back side in. One of the hard parts is we're trying to line that bushing up, and you can see it's crooked, so we need to get that in there and square it off so that we can get it into position. Stop being difficult. Well, we kind of got that in there. Now, we can... There we are, governor. Now we're getting there. All right. Ha! Now we've got it. We got our front bushing in. We have our rear one here, not lined up, on its way there. Now if we can use our punch and get up in here with a little pryage. There we go. Now use our punch and get things lined up a little bit better. We know what we're working with. There we are. That's a lot better. Now let's see if we can get our, yes we can. Bolt goes up in there. Let's get our bolts. Aha, there we go. All right. We've got our bolt in there. Now, we can make sure that starts threading in nicely. And line our ball joint up to drop in. There we are. All right. Now we got our ball joint to actually, our stud came up through the bottom. We're going to put our nut on there to hold that down. So the only thing I don't like is that they don't use the same size nut as the factory. So we had an 18 millimeter, now we're using a 3/4, which you go from metric to standard. That's kind of goofy. But let's get this nut on, let's get everything put back together and be done with this whole job. One thing you need to do is when you're tightening down this control arm bushing here, it is circular and it's actually under load. So whatever you tighten it on is its neutral spot. So we want to load the suspension up and then we tighten this down. And then that way, its resting position is all the way in the middle, not all the way dropped down like it would be if we did it with the suspension lowered. So this way the bushing lasts a lot longer and you won't have to replace it quite so soon. Put a little anti-seize on our connection where our hub and our wheel go so we don't get any binding between the steel there. Rust is not our friend. Line up our wheel. In the big scheme of things, this wasn't bad. Not something I'd want to necessarily do on my driveway, especially if you don't have a lot of mechanical knowledge. It's not easy, but it wasn't the worst thing I've ever done. But if you have a 2013 Volkswagen Beetle and you need to do control arms, just be prepared. If you're doing that driver's side, you're gonna have to take out that battery, the battery tray, you're gonna have to take out that bracket, whatever module that is has to come up. You're gonna have to jack up the motor to get to the bolt on the front of the control arm. You're also probably supposed to remove the CV shafts to get the lower bolt for the control arm off the ball joint. So I ended up heating it up and it came off okay on both sides. It just was a lot of work to do it that way. Right side, definitely a lot easier than the left side. But if it's something you need to do, and hopefully this video can help you, give it a thumbs up. I appreciate you taking the time to watch. Hit like, hit subscribe, and I'll see you next time.